I'm Ann Dark.
I'm Tracy Stormy.
And I'm Kathy Knight.
And together we are
It Was a Dark and Stormy Book Club,
a podcast for mystery lovers.
Welcome. Hello, and welcome to our next In Agatha's Footsteps. And today we have an interview with the wonderful author Rhys Bowen, who writes the Constable Evans, the Molly Murphy, and the Royal Spyness Series. And she's also the author of 3 new standalone novels in Fairleigh Field, Tuscan Child, and now she has a new book coming out called The Victory Garden. These all 3 are standalones which deal with either the First or Second World War. They're very interesting books.
Rhys is the New York Times Bestselling Author of 2 historical mystery series, the Molly Murphy Mysteries set in the early 1900s New York, and the lighter Royal Spyness novels about a minor royal in the 1930s England. She has also published 3 big standalone novels set in World War I and World War II, all of which have been international bestsellers. Rhys has won 20 major awards to date and is published in 16 languages. She is a transplanted Brit who now divides her time between California and Arizona. Welcome, Rhys.
We are very thrilled to welcome Rhys Bowen, who is one of my personal favorite authors, to our podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Rhys.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here.
We have a lot of first-time writers that listen to our show, and I was curious how you got your start writing mysteries.
Well, I've been writing all my life. My mother tells me I wrote my first poem when I was 4, so I have to believe her. But no, I've been writing other things. It started with plays for the BBC, and then I did children's books, and then I did young adult books. And it was only one day when I was in the library and I discovered Tony Hillerman. I'd grown up on mysteries. I'd grown up on the ladies of the golden age, you know, Agatha Christie, Naomi Marsh, Josephine Tey, and they were all great entertaining reads, but they never really stuck with me. And then I discovered Tony Hillerman, and he not only had a mystery, but he took me to a place. And I thought, this is what I want to write. And I thought, why haven't I been writing mysteries before? Because it's what I read all the time. So I went home and I thought, where do I want to set a mystery? I want to set a mystery in a place, and I want to take people there. Of course, I live in California most of the time, and we certainly don't need any smart and sassy folks from Marine County. And then I grew up in England, in genteel suburbia. And so then I thought about my childhood in Wales, when I'd spent time with my aunt and great aunt in Wales, in the mountains near Snowdonia. And that was just such a unique place that I set my first mystery series, the Constable Evans mysteries, there. So then it's all gone on from there.
Well, you do a great job of taking people there. That was a good way of saying that, because that's the one thing I've always really enjoyed about your books.
You know, I think every good writer should write they want to read. Essentially, what I write is a book that I want to be on the shelf but not there, so I have to put it there.
Yes, you do.
I love to read a book when I'm transported somewhere, you know, a mini vacation. Suddenly I'm in Venice or I'm in India or somewhere, and, you know, sometimes if the book is good enough and it's in the middle of winter, I suddenly think, oh God, I'm cold, I need some hot chocolate, and then I suddenly realize, wait, it's actually summer, you know, but I've been transported.
Oh yes, I've had that happen. And I guess it's so sad that you probably have to go on these research trips to these wonderful places.
That is so grueling, you know. I mean,
yes, I can imagine.
The book that I'm actually writing right now is set in Nice, and I had to spend quite a few weeks on the Riviera last year doing research. You can't believe how many bistros there are. One has to research it.
Oh, well.
And all that wine, you know. I had a friend.
Poor thing.
Was a writer friend, and he said, how come you set your books in Paris and Nice and I set mine in Cleveland? And I went, well,
That's one of the things I loved about the Constable Evans. You got the feeling of being in that small town, walking up the hill where the schoolhouse was. You just felt like you were coming home when you were reading those books.
Oh, thanks. I mean, that's when I read, that's what I want. And I think you have to know a place well before you can write about it like that. Oh, I think I'll set a book in Scotland and go to Scotland 3 days, because you never get the actual feel of what the people are like and everything.
Now, I love Constable Evans, and I was very sad when he ended. Is Molly finished?
I won't say she's finished. Let me say she's put on hold for now. I've done 17 books in that series, and I love Molly, and I love Sid and Gus and everything else. There are so many other ideas I want to explore. You know, I've done several standalones recently, and it's kind of fun to write a book in a different environment and then go on to something else. And I will tackle all those ideas. The other thing is, too, that Molly has married and has had a child. And will probably have 4 children. Then I have to ask myself, if I were in that situation, when would I put myself in harm's way? Then it has to be a really good motive for solving a crime and getting involved in a crime. And so far I've made that happen with, I think, the 3 books since she's had a baby. I can't go on forever with that. She's not going to just say, oh, what fun, there's a murder, let's go out and solve it. Because she is responsible for another life, and I have to respect that.
Yeah, we've heard that from other writers, too, that becomes a challenging part. Speaking of new ideas, we've always really enjoyed Sid and Gus. Have you ever considered writing a novel around them?
That's a brilliant idea, you know, because they are
Love them.
fun characters. It's funny, I never meant them to be anything more than 2 people in a tavern in, I think, Death of Riley. And they just sort of took over Molly's life. It's interesting because I've received several hate messages over my life that have said, since you started introducing that ridiculous lesbian couple, I'm not going to read your books anymore. I have written back on 2 things. I've said, 1, I'm trying to recreate Greenwich Village as it would have been at time, and it would have been a time of bohemians, and they would have fitted in very well there. And 2, they're the neighbours that I would want to have.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, sign me up.
But no, I mean, they do lead an interesting life, and they would actually make excellent sleuths themselves, wouldn't they? I mean, they're a little over-enthusiastic, but I think, you know, I might try a novella with them to see how it feels. I
think you should. I would definitely read it. I always look forward to what they're going to do in the book. Even if Molly's doing her detecting, they're always doing something interesting.
Oh, yeah. You never know what it's going to be next. You never know if their living room is going to be transformed into a yurt, or they're going to... Or they've even gone off to Vienna to study psychology with Professor Freud, you know.
Yes, and that would be another research trip you would have to do.
That's a good idea.
I also enjoyed reading the Royal Spyness and Georgie and her growth during the years. Is she going to phase out like Molly, sort of, now that she's married? And
Oh, I really hope not.
I hope not, too.
No, I mean, I love, as far as I know, I've got several book planned and under contract still, but no, I love spending time with her because that whole series is so therapeutic. There are so many characters that are just so ridiculous and wacky, and I like sitting at my computer and chuckling, and I will call out to my husband, I'd say, hey, listen to what Queenie just said, you know, and it's really, and it makes me laugh, and it's going to make somebody else laugh too.
I like how Queenie has grown. She started out to be such a horrible maid. She was burning everything, and she's just delightful. I just look forward to picking up the next Rhys Bowen book because I know it's going to be one I'm going to really enjoy.
Well, thank you. Now, the thing with Georgie is that we're not only is she sort of fun to write and she has fun adventures, but we are actually seeing the unfolding of real history, which is always in the background. An interesting time. We're getting to the time when he can die, and Prince of Wales is going to become Edward VIII, and then he's going to renounce the throne for Mrs. Simpson, and in the background we have Hitler now having consolidated his power, so there's all sorts of interesting things that could happen to Georgie in the future.
Yeah.
The one's going to be difficult is these are funny books, they're humorous mysteries, and on the whole they're light. It's a very fine line you walk with what might be happening in Germany, and whether you can make that a funny book.
Well, I noticed that in several of, at least the last one I read of Georgie, Mrs. Simpson made an appearance.
Oh, yeah, she's made an appearance in most of the books.
Yeah, she just kind of attends the parties. And
yeah, wherever Georgie is, she tends to show up. because I love writing her. You know, she was such an obnoxious woman, and I just love what I've done with all the characters who are real people. There are quite a lot of them. The Prince of Wales, Mrs. Simpson, of most of the royals, and people like Noel Coward. I make them say things that I know they've said. You know, I have read all the biographies and everything, and either they've said exactly those words or they've expressed those sentiments. So I try and be as true to them as they really were. And she was a very catchy woman. All that she did, for example, the Duke and Duchess of York, who became the King and Queen, she used to make fun of them all the time. She used to call her Cookie because she said she looked like a cook. She used to refer to her as the Dowdy Duchess, and then she used to imitate his style. She'd say, I guess who I am, you know, and everybody would roar with laughter. So she was horrible.
She wasn't a very nice person.
You know, it was portrayed at the time as this great romance. In reality, it was a rather sad thing. I mean, he was in his 40s, and she was naive enough to believe that she could be queen. She really thought that when he was king, he could issue a proclamation and say, my wife is now going to be queen. And it just shows they were both rather pathetic, you know, stuck together for the rest of their lives with no real purpose in life.
Well, other than your historical characters that you ingrain in your stories, are your main characters based on real people?
I have to say this, I've never created a character. When I want someone to walk in and go, oh, here I am. And I go, are you? Yes, I see. Especially with the first person character. When I wrote Molly and Georgie, the moment they started talking, I knew exactly who they were. And I just let them talk. And that's what they do, essentially. They just talk and I just follow along. But with most of the characters, I think the moment they've got a name and the moment they open their mouths, then I have a good idea who they are. I don't think I've ever sat down and thought, now for this scene, I need a serious librarian of 46. Never happened. Where it's just someone comes into the room and says, well, are you ready now? And I think, oh, well, I know who you are. The only thing I've ever got wrong is names. And I talked about this on some of the blogs I'm on, that sometimes you get the name wrong. You know, I'm calling this character Richard, and it's going really slowly for some reason. And then after about a few scenes, he looks at me and he says, why do you keep calling me Richard when actually my name is Robert? And you go, I'm sorry.
I always find that fascinating. We spoke with Alan Bradley, and he said the same thing about Flavia, that he went back and forth, and he kept saying names, and nope, and finally she said Flavia woke up.
yeah. And the moment you get the right name, it just zooms ahead, and you think, oh, now I know this person, this is good. That's happened in the last of the Molly books, The Ghost of Christmas Park. I had the main character called Lily, and then I realized she couldn't be Millie because we had Molly. I went Tilly and Winnie, and I went through goodness knows how many before we finally hit on one that I felt really said who she was.
Now, are there going to be any new character novel series that you're going to be coming out with?
I'm staying away from series, I think, because...
you are?
Yeah, I'm going to keep doing the Royal Spyness. I write 2 books a year, and that's quite enough for anybody, especially someone like me who would like to be slowing down a bit. So I've got so many standalone ideas that I want to play with. You know, I love writing historical novels. It's interesting. The first one, In Fairleigh Field, essentially a historical thriller.
That was excellent.
The Tuscan Child had a large element of mystery going through it. And then the most recent one that came out last week, The Victory Garden, is set in World War I. And it does have a small element of mystery, but essentially it's just a historical novel. So I think I'm moving towards the straight historical novel. Not trying to, but they always have to have that touch of mystery because, you know, I write mystery books. But it's kind of fun to jump around to different periods and to go with different sorts of people. The one I'm writing right now is about Queen Victoria. I never thought I'd write, but I decided I wanted to write about Queen Victoria when she stayed in Nice when she was an old woman. So that's what I'm writing.
Now, is Rhys a character in any of your books?
I've never tried to put myself in any of the books, but I have to confess that Georgie is taking on a lot more of my characteristics without my trying to do this. I think I've always been the sort of person who gets a little bit clumsy when she's under stress. You know, if I'm in a place where I'm not completely comfortable, I probably will bump into something. So I've made Georgie suffer through some of my most embarrassing moments. There was one in the very first book when Georgie has a very brief and disastrous modelling career. She has to put on this outfit very quickly, and It's so tight it won't really go over her hips, and buttons up behind her neck, and she thinks this is a very strange outfit. And she comes out, she can only take tiny steps. It turns out that it is culottes, and she's in half of it.
Oh my goodness.
And the interesting thing my editor said to me, I think we have to take out this scene, it's just too ridiculous. And I said, it happened to me. That was my brief and disastrous modelling career.
Oh, wow.
So since then, I've made Georgie do a thing that really embarrassed me at the time. So I think she does. In fact, I got one of my fan letters once said, "Oh, I've just seen your picture." I was quite surprised because I always thought that you were the same age as Georgie. A, I found it really flattering, and B, that she didn't look at my photo and go, "Oh yes, she must be in her 20s."
I know you like to combine fiction with actual people. How do you research